Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive back into our coverage over Age of Apocalypse. And really, we're almost at the very end of our coverage. We only have like two more videos left. And once we're done with those two videos, we're done with the whole entire event for the time being, and I'll explain why in our next video. But when it comes to today's video, we're going to start off with Gambit in the X-Ternals, and this is the last issue for this series. Now, technically, this issue is picking up where the last one left off at, but it's also picking up where Amazing X-Men had also left off at as well. And let me explain. Because back in Amazing X-Men, we had learned that for the X-Men, Magneto had to fight against Apocalypse, and he lost that battle. And so it led to him and Bishop becoming prisoners of Apocalypse. But before you had Apocalypse being able to take down Magneto and also take down Bishop, you had the nanny, this robot, being able to grab Charles, the son of Magneto and Rogue of this reality, and take the child over into the Morlock tunnels as a way to get away. Now, after you have Magneto get captured by Apocalypse alongside with Bishop, the question was now, hey, where is Charles? Where is the nanny? And so you had the X-Men arrive back and realize that one, their leader is captured, but two, the nanny is missing with the young child. And so as we dive into the opening pages of Gambit and the X-Ternals, issue number 4, we're picking up with Dazzler and also Exodus, who were sent by Quicksilver to hopefully find the nanny, but to also find Charles. And they found the nanny, and the nanny has been completely destroyed. The entire robot's life has just been wiped out, what seems to be in a matter of seconds. But with the robot now being destroyed, the question is now, where in the world is Charles? And we kind of get our answer to that question in like a matter of seconds, because we do see that you have Apocalypse interrogating Richter to kind of figure out what happened earlier when it came to Richter trying to capture Gambit in the X-Ternals, but also when it came to Richter getting his hands on the shard of the Imcron crystal, but also on the baby, Charles, because apparently Richter had a chance to get both items, but he had apparently failed. And so this kind of leads us into, the leading moments that lead up to the idea where you now have Apocalypse holding on to the child of Charles, but also possibly getting his hands on the Imcron crystal. And so as we dive into one of the many flashbacks we're going to get in this one issue alone, we do pick up with Gambit and also Lila just trying their best to get away from Richter, really to make sure that Richter followed them, to keep Richter away from Jubilee and Strong Guy, so that those two characters will then have the ability to deliver the Imcron crystal over to the X-Men, over to Magneto. And for Gambit, he has no idea that currently Magneto is a prisoner of Apocalypse, but either way, their main mission is to use the Imcron crystal shard to hopefully bring in a better reality than this one. But as we switch back over to the present day, we pick up with Apocalypse really expressing the fact that he's mad at Richter because Richter got tricked. Because for Richter, he went after Gambit and also Lila, not go after Jubilee and Strong Guy. Because for Richter, he believed that Gambit would have his hands on the shard. But in reality, Gambit gave the shard over to Jubilee. And so is Richter saying, hey, I thought he would have it because he is their leader, but I was completely wrong. But as we get another flashback, we're really picking up with Jubilee on the run. And we see Jubilee holding on to two items, the baby, Charles, and also the Imcron crystal shard. And so the thing is, she's trying her best to get away from Richter. And this leads into a big moment where we learn that for Strong Guy, he's a traitor. The entire time that Strong Guy has been working with the X-Ternals, he was secretly working for Apocalypse. You see, he was captured 2 months ago and they put some kind of bomb inside his body. And they said like, hey, if you disobey any orders, that bomb will go off, killing you and possibly other people around you as well. And so for Strong Guy, he's unfortunately being forced to grab the Mcron crystal shard, but to also grab Charles and deliver both items over to Apocalypse. And for Jubilee, she can't do anything at all when it comes to Strong Guy because she's still learning how to use her powers like she was in the old timeline as well. And right after you had Jubilee find out about the idea of Strong Guy being a traitor, you also have Gambit and Lila find out as well, because while they're trying their best to get away from, Richter, it's also them hoping to find the X-Men to figure out how in the world Richter was able to keep tabs on them. And so while they're trying to access a different tunnel that could lead them over to the X-Men, they run into Strong Guy. And of course, this is where you have Gambit realize that he has been played. Now, for Strong Guy, he was madly in love with Lila, but in this reality, Lila ended up with Gambit. And so for Strong Guy, he hates the idea that Gambit was able to get the woman that he loved. But on top of that, he was caught 2 months ago by the forces of Apocalypse. And so you have Richter confirm to Gambit like, hey, Strong Guy has been working for him this entire time. Now you do have Richter try to bring down the tunnels on top of everybody, but at the very last second, you do have Strong Guy trying to hold up one of the support beams to allow Gambit to be able to grab Lila and get the heck out of there. Now, technically, Gambit had a choice, right? It was to save Lila or to go ahead and let her die, get his hands on the crystal, but also baby Charles as well. But he chose Lila, and the reason why? Because of love. Now for Lila, she's freaking out because she's wondering how in the world are they going to be able to get their hands on the crystal and also Charles. But for Gambit, it does not matter right now because he just saved her life, the woman he loves so much. And so as we transition back over to the present day, we're picking up with Apocalypse giving praise to Strong Guy because it was Richter who was bringing down the tunnels on top of everyone. But it was Strong Guy who had delivered the Mcron crystal and also the shard of the Mcron crystal, but also baby Charles over to Apocalypse. And so you have Strong Guy get all the praise. And for Richter, unfortunately, is killed off by Apocalypse. And so as the book closes, we're picking up with Gambit and also Lila running into Dazzler and Exodus. And you have Gambit inform the two like, hey, we did have the Mcron crystal, but we lost it. But on top of that, we lost the baby as well, baby Charles. And so now it's Gambit and Lila just trying their best to spend some time together. But let's not forget, the X-Ternals know what's coming to the universe right now. The Mcron crystal is releasing energy across the entire universe because this reality should not exist at all. But on top of that, this reality right now is slowly being blinked away by the Mcron crystal, different parts of the universe one by one. But either way, they have to now figure out how can they stop Apocalypse to get the Mcron crystal shard back, but to also save the life of baby Charles. But now we have to dive into Amazing X-Men issue number 4, the final issue for our coverage leading into X-Men Omega. So getting into this issue, really picking up with Bishop. Now remember, he got captured in the earlier parts of our coverage of this event by Apocalypse. But you had Apocalypse make sure that him and Magneto are being kept apart in 2 different locations. And so for Bishop, he's with a group of characters known as the Madri. And really, we're going to learn more about this particular group in this chapter alone. But while you have the Madri trying to torture him and interrogate him, you then have Storm appear. Now, this is kind of cool for me. And the reason why, because in the old timeline, Storm and Bishop were like very close to one another. There was one point in time where I kind of believed in the possibility that Storm and Bishop could become a couple. Now, of course, it did not happen, but it did seem like that leading into this event. And so once you have Storm save Bishop, it's Bishop kind of like, man, I'm saved by Storm. And once again, I am reminded of the same Storm I had in my old timeline as well. But while you have Storm going out of her way to save Bishop, you didn't have two other members of the X-Men go out of their way to save or really begin the process of helping Bishop get out of this area. And the thing is, we begin to learn about the Madri. You see, the Madri is a group of people who are kind of like a religious group who look at Apocalypse as their god. They praise him like their god. We kind of find out that every single member of the Madri, they come from one particular person, and that would be Jamie Madrox. Now remember, he has the ability to make clones of himself. And so when it came to Dark Beast and Sinister, they were able to run some experiments on him and kind of force him into being used as a way to build up an army of people who, one, would work for Apocalypse, but two, praise Apocalypse like he's some kind of god. But we did switch over to the rest of the X-Men, really the X-Men, the X-Ternals, really anybody who had worked for Magneto throughout this entire event, because it's now all of them coming together after going on different missions that Magneto had assigned for them to do as a way to hopefully get rid of this timeline, but to bring in the original timeline. And so as you have everybody coming together, they're kind of like, hey, look, here comes Colossus and Kitty Pryde. And look, Colossus was able to save his younger sister. Isn't that great? No, because his entire team was killed off. Now, once you have Gambit and also Lila appear, they had to inform Rogue and the rest of the X-Men like, hey, listen, we did get our hands on the M'Kraan crystal, or shard of the crystal, but the problem was that Apocalypse, really not Apocalypse, but one of their own was working for Apocalypse, and that would be Strong Guy. And so because of Strong Guy, they, one, lost the shard, but also two, they lost Charles. And remember, Charles is the son of Rogue and Magneto, but you had the nanny, this robot, take Charles away while you have Magneto fight against Apocalypse and lose that battle big time. But after that, you then had Strong Guy destroy the nanny, grab Charles, and gave Charles over to Apocalypse. Now, there was a moment where Gambit had a choice to say Charles or the shard, or really Charles and the shard, or save the woman he loved, better known as Lila. And of course, he saved Lila over the child in the shard. And so because of that, it's Rogue saying, you gave up my child in the shard that could save our whole entire reality for your loved one? Like, have you lost your mind? And so now is Rogue wanting to beat down on Gambit. But we do get a page where we're technically seeing for a brief moment just Storm and also Bishop just trying their best to fight against an army of different members of the Madri. And they're kind of wondering like, hey, where in the world is our backup? Where is Quicksilver and also Banshee? Well, those two characters are about to meet someone else. That would be Abyss. Now, we have talked a lot about this character before. When it comes to Abyss, he is one of the last horsemen of Apocalypse. Really, he is the last horseman of Apocalypse. But for Abyss, his whole entire body is just made up of coils. But the thing is, right in the middle of his body, it leads into this dark dimension. Now, the last time we saw him, Quicksilver was able to kind of put Abyss' body into his own dark dimension. And so we were kind of left to believe in the possibility that Abyss is dead. Come to find out, no, that is not the case at all. But for Banshee, he knows what he has to do as a way to get rid of Abyss once and for all. And so you have Banshee tell Quicksilver, get Madrox out of here. I'll stay behind and deal with him. And he does. You have Banshee go inside the body of Abyss and just release all of his power all at once, kind of leaving us with the possibility of the idea that Abyss died from the inside out, with his dark dimension being destroyed inside his body. So we're kind of like, oh, cool. Abyss is dead once and for all. That is not the case. You see, there were many different storylines that came out many years later that had revisited this reality. One of those storylines brings back Abyss once again. So yes, he's dead, quote unquote, now, but down the road, we're going to learn, no, homeboy is alive. You would think with the possibility of with Jamie now on the side of the X-Men, like, okay, cool. If he's able to shut down all the different clones that the Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, and Dark Beast had forced him to create, it's one, going to do a huge blow to Apocalypse army, but two, maybe he'll then make clones of himself to help out the X-Men to take down Apocalypse. One of those things is true. The other one does not happen. And the reason why, because for Jamie, he has been locked away for many years. And you had Mr. Sinister, Dark Beast, Apocalypse force this man for many years to create multiple clones of himself over and over and over again to make an army. This man is so weak and drained that he's telling Quicksilver, like, hey, listen, I know you love Storm. I can tell that Bishop is also important as well. Let me tell you right now, I'm going to help you guys out. I'm going to use the last bit of my strength to go ahead and get rid of all the clones who are currently here or possibly across North America as a way to give Apocalypse a major blow in his army. And so just like that, he does it. But the problem again is that he had to use the last bit of his energy, the last bit of his strength to pull this off. And when he does, there you go. He's dead. But so is the Madre as well. Quicksilver is heartbroken. Storm and Bishop also heartbroken as well. Ending of the book perfectly leads us into X-Men Omega, the last and final video of this event, where you do have everyone come back together, and you do have Rogue kind of stop beating down on Gambit, but you have Quicksilver, Storm, and Bishop arrive, and they're kind of like, hey, listen, we're now at the end game. We have most of the pieces that we technically need at the moment to hopefully defeat Apocalypse. Only missing one piece, and that's a shard of the M'Kraan crystal. Now, technically, they also got to save Charles as well. But again, Charles is not really part of their plan when it comes to using Bishop as a way to bring back the old timeline that's better than this timeline. And so with all that being said, this is the end of today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.